Good morning, students. Today we are going to continue with the last part of our chapter, Weather and Climate. So, before diving into the ending part, let us recap the chapter once. In this chapter, up till now, we have read what is weather. What is weather? Weather is the condition, atmospheric condition of a place at a certain point of time. So that is weather, and there are particularly 4 factors on which weather depends. Up till now we have read about 3 factors. Today we are going to read about the 4th factor and about climate. So let us recapitulate once. First we read about temperature. What did we see in temperature? We saw that temperature is mainly the difference in the hotness or coldness of the atmosphere that is around us. So when it is very hot, we say the temperature is high, and when it is cold, we say the temperature is low. And what is used to measure temperature? We use a thermometer to measure temperature, right? So that was the first factor. The second factor that we read about was wind and the various types of wind and how wind moves. So what did we see? What is wind? Wind is moving air. So what happens is, due to difference in temperature, due to high temperature, the air that is surrounding us becomes hot. And what happens to hot air? Hot air rises above, and the place in which the air was there becomes empty. So what happens? In that empty space, cold air rushes in to fill that space. This cold air that rushes in, this moving air, is known as wind. And we have seen the various types of wind. What were they? They were breeze, gale, storm. Okay, these were the various types of wind that we had seen. After that, last day we read about rain and water cycle. So we read about rain and water cycle last day. What did we see? What did we see about rain? We saw that due to temperature differences, the water on the surface of the earth evaporates and rises above, and as it rises above, it cools down and then comes down, then forms clouds, and after these clouds they become heavy. The water droplets joined together, they become heavy and cannot be held, and then they come down to the earth as rain. After that, we had read about the few different forms of precipitation. Okay, rain is a form of precipitation. We read about a few different forms of precipitation. What were they? They were dew, frost, hail and snow. Okay, these were the different forms of precipitation we read about last day. Today we are going to read about humidity. So today our topic of discussion is humidity. So let us move on to that part of the chapter now. So in your books, page number 20 is where you will find the part of humidity at the lower end of the book. So let us start. First and foremost, what is humidity? Okay, humidity. Humidity is the amount of water vapor in the air. So what is humidity? If you asked a question, what is humidity? You will have to say humidity is the amount of water vapor in the air. So we have read in that all the previous 3 parts, we have seen that water vapor rises up and mixes with the air around us, right? So this particular point of time, when the water vapor is still present near the surface of the earth in the form of vapor along with the air, it is known as humidity. We say it is humid when there is a lot of water vapor in the air. So for the past 2 or 3 days, you see that the weather that we are seeing is very hot, right? We are feeling very uncomfortable. So this is why, because the air has lot of water vapor in the air. So when do we say it is humid? So if you are asked that when do we say it is humid, or what is a humid kind of situation, you will say that humid is when a lot of water vapor is present in the air. Okay, next, the air can hold only a fixed amount of water vapor. So the air has a capacity. The air cannot hold unlimited water vapor, like every day there is evaporation continuously without no rain. Okay, after a certain time what happens is the air is unable to hold any more amount of water vapor. So the amount of water vapor that the air can hold is fixed. If it already has a lot of water vapor, it cannot take up more. So when that level is reached, okay, when the capacity, the highest capacity of the air ability to contain water vapor is reached, it cannot take up any more water vapor. So what happens? So on a humid day, our sweat does not evaporate, that is change into vapor easily, and we feel sticky and uncomfortable. So what happens is that, see, just imagine these 2 or 3 days. Okay, what is happening? We are sweating so much, we are feeling so hot. Okay, and it feels as if the sweat does not go away. We are continuously sweating and we feel sticky and uncomfortable. Okay, so why is this? Because there has been no rain recently, the amount of water vapor that is present in the atmosphere has reached its maximum level. Now the remaining vapor, that is still, evaporation does not stop, evaporation is still continuing. Okay, so as evaporation is still continuing, what is happening is this air cannot take up any more remaining water vapor. So that what happens due to that we get a feeling of stickiness and discomfort. Okay, we feel sticky and uncomfortable, and such a day, when we feel these kind of things, this kind of atmospheric condition prevails around us, such a day is known as a humid day. Okay, such a day is known as a humid day. Wet clothes take longer to dry when it is humid. See, for the same reason that our sweat does not evaporate, the wet clothes that we put out to dry also take longer to dry on such humid days. Okay, so what happens? Due to the excess water vapor that is present in the atmosphere, what happens that the wet clothes, there is water in these wet clothes. Okay, it cannot evaporate so quickly, as quickly it might do in a normal day. Okay, that is why what happens is these clothes take longer to dry on a humid day. Okay, so this is humidity, humid, and a humid day for you. Okay, so this is the fourth factor on which weather depends. Now we complete the part of weather. Now let's move on to the part of climate. See, what is the heading of this part? The heading of this part is what is climate. The previous part, we had the heading of what is weather. This part deals with climate, so we have the heading of what is climate. What is climate? Climate is the kind of weather a place has over a long period of time. Okay, so for a long period of time, the kind of weather that prevails around us is known as climate. So if you ask what is climate, you will say climate is the kind of weather of a place that prevails over a long period of time. So this is the definition of climate. What does this mean? Okay, you see what it says further is, unlike the weather, the climate of a place remains the same for many years. Okay, so suppose in a place it is very hot. Okay, like say in the desert areas, we know that in the desert areas it is very hot, it is dry. Okay, so when we are talking about the climate of the desert area, we will say it has a hot type of climate. Because why? It's not that it never rains in the desert or nothing like that. It may rain, but maybe here when we are sitting at our home in Kolkata, we may get rain once a month. Okay, maybe more than that. During summer season we get rain twice or thrice a month, but maybe in a desert it may rain once after 2 or 3 months. Okay, So what happens is the temperature mainly remains on the higher scale. That is why we say that the desert climate is a hot type of climate. See the hilly areas, okay, hilly areas also experience summer season, they also experience rainy season, they also experience winter season. But if you compare with it with some other place, you will say that you will see that the temperature is always cooler compared to the plain lands or the desert. Okay, so the climate that prevails in the hilly region is a cold kind of climate. The climate of a place depends on many things. See, previously we had seen that weather condition depends on 4 factors mainly. Similarly, climate also depends on a few things. What are they? First one of this is how far it is from the equator. So first and foremost, it is how far it is from the equator. So we have to see the place. If the place is near to the equator, it is hot, and if it is further, as it moves away from the equator, the place gets colder. Places near the equator get direct sun rays which heat more. So these places have a hot climate. As we move towards the poles, the sun's rays become slanting and the climate gets colder. The poles have a very cold climate and are covered with ice. What happens is, see this picture you have in your book. Okay, suppose you have the sun here. You have the sun here. If the sun is here and this is the equator, what happens is, here the sun rays direct. But if you see the poles here, okay, if we talk about the poles here, you will see that sun rays are slanting. Okay, they are longer. So when the sun rays are straight and short, the place gets more heat. So the place has a hot climate. But as we move towards the poles, the poles, what happens? The sun rays become slanting and the climate gets colder. Okay, so see, we are near to the equator. Okay, if you see this map, this is India. Okay, this is India. So India is near to the equator, right? So we have more of a hot kind of climate. But if you see this part, the Arctic or the Antarctic, okay, these parts, they are nearer to the pole. Okay, you have the continent Antarctica. Is Antarctica what type of atmosphere do we see in Antarctica? Do we see it is hot, there is no snow, or do we see that it is covered in ice? We see that Antarctica is covered in ice, right? Why? Because it is away from the equator and near to the poles. So if you are asked about a place, what kind of climate that the place might have, whether hot or cold, you will have to see first that whether it is near the equator or near to the pole. If it is near to the equator, the type of climate will be hotter. If it is near to the pole, the type of climate will be colder. Okay, so these are the two factors. This is the first factor on which the climate of a place depends. What is the second factor? The climate of a place also depends on how high it is. The second thing is the height of the place. What is height? See this picture here. Okay, this is the sea and this is the mountain. Okay, which is higher? Is the boy who is higher, who is standing at a higher level, the person who is standing near the sea or the person who is on the mountain? Obviously the person who is on the mountain is higher compared to the person who is standing near the sea. So as we move higher, temperature becomes cooler. Okay, as you know that air gets colder as we move up. So places in hills and mountains have a cooler climate than places in the plains. So you have seen in the part of wind, right, that hot air rises above and cold air rushes in. Okay, and as after that, in case of water cycle, you have seen that as you as the air moves above, it gets colder. Okay, so see, in the part that is near the sea, here the evaporation is taking place. So what happens? The air here is hot, and as it is rising above, it is getting colder and colder. Okay, so what happens is, as we move above to a higher place, the atmosphere, the climatic condition gets cooler. So you see, in places that is near the sea, okay, the places that we visit near the seaside, they are maybe a little bit comfortable, okay, they do not have snow. You do not need to wear a sweater, okay. But when you go to a hill station or a mountain place, a place that is located on the mountains, okay, even in the summer season you might need to wear a light sweater because of the temperature difference. So it is always comparatively cooler on the mountains, okay. You might see snow if you go very high. See the Mount Everest, okay, even in the summer season the highest point of the Mount Everest is covered in snow, right? So you see, when we do not get any kind of snow, even in the winter, the Mount Everest is covered in snow throughout the year. So this is due to the height, okay. This is due to the height of the place. We have a lower height and the mountains are higher above. So due to this reason, they are cooler. The climate there is cooler compared to the plain regions we live in, okay. So these are the two factors on which climate depends. First one is distance from the equator and second one is height or altitude of the place, okay. So this is what is climate. Next, our country is closer to the equator than to the poles, so we have a warm climate. But those places in our country that are in high mountains have a cold climate. We also have a long rainy season. So you see, there are various kinds of seasons in our country, and our climatic conditions are also different. What is being said is, our country is closer to the equator than to the poles. Like already I showed you the picture and told you that India is closer to the poles. So as we are closer to the poles, we have a warmer climate compared to those countries those are near the poles, okay. We have a warmer climate. But again, in India, like I told you, suppose Greenland, okay, Greenland is a country which is covered in ice. It is very cold. So compared to Greenland, India has a warmer kind of climate. First thing, this is because of the reason that is the distance from the equator, okay. Greenland is more closer to the poles and we are more closer to the equator. So at the same point of time in the year, Greenland will have a much colder climate compared to that of India. And the next thing is height. So in India, like I told you, if you go to the beach maybe in the month of February, if you go to the beach, you may not require a sweater, okay. You might feel a very pleasant kind of weather. But at the same time, if someone is visiting Mount Everest, okay, that person will be covered with snow all around, okay. That person will have to wear 2 or 3 sweaters because of the temperature difference, okay. So these are how the two different factors affect climate. So this is the end of our chapter, weather and climate, okay. So after this we'll be starting a new chapter, but before that we will complete the remaining exercises of the chapter. And that's all for today. Thank you. Bye bye. And if you have any query, be sure to ask me. Bye bye.